Yeah, you know what time it is. Disclaimer, I am not an attorney, nor do I offer or give legal advice. So please understand that all information that we talk about in any of my webinars are strictly information and educational purposes. And most of it is just personal experiences with things anyway. So please understand this is not legal advice. And may you be blessed on your journey to find your power within these laws. Peace and blessings. Peace and prosperity, peace and prosperity. Thank you for joining me once again. Today, we're going to take a look at a letter from Bank of America. Now, this is a letter of denial, so let's get right into it. This is dated August 2nd, 2023. Small business credit application. That's the number. All right. Thank you for your application. After careful review, we're unable to approve your request for a small business credit card account at this time. We considered the information you provided, your relationship with us, information from credit reporting agencies, and or current economic trends. We weren't able to approve your request because you have an unsatisfactory payment history on your personal credit report. Now let's just stop right there. They thanked us for our application, right? They said after careful review, they were unable to approve your request for a small business credit card account at this time. Approve, huh? They considered the information that they provided to them, their relationship they had with them, information from credit reporting agencies, and or current economic trends. What does that mean? Well, what's going on in the economy? Are there a lot of defaults going on as banks' interest rates are high, which restricts lending and all those types of things, right? That's the current economic trends. So we were unable to approve your request because you have an unsatisfactory payment history on your personal credit. They say personal credit when this was a business loan. So obviously they were using their personal to fund the business, right? All right, well, let's keep reading. Want to know more about your credit? Yeah, I sure do. There are steps you can take to better understand your credit. We recommend you review the Fair Credit Reporting Act notice on the back of this letter and obtain a copy of your consumer credit report to be sure you agree with what's being reported. Message. Let's read that again. There are steps you can take to better understand your credit. So they're telling us there's steps we can take. We recommend you review the Fair Credit Reporting Act. What? The Fair Credit Reporting Act? Well, I will take your recommendation upon that. Notice on the back of this letter. Oh, just the one on the back of the letter? I thought you wanted me to look it up, but okay. And obtain a copy of your consumer credit report to be sure you agree with what's reported. So it's about us agreeing, right? Doesn't that sound like consent? Yeah, it sounds like consent to me. People are sometimes surprised by the things that are on their reports. You are certainly right. Consumer credit reporting information. All right, if you'd like to review the details of your consumer credit report, please contact TransUnion. Okay. Now, continued on the reverse side. All right, now we are on the back side. Starts off with helpful resources. We also encourage you to visit bankofamerica.com/creditinfo to access helpful information about building business and personal credit, finding alternative lending options, and much more. Additional information about building strong credit for your small business can also be found in the enclosed brochure. Thank you for considering us for your small business credit needs. Thank you for considering. That sounds like consideration, huh? Pay attention. Now, Fair Credit Reporting Act. The credit reporting agency indicated in this letter did not make the decision to take adverse action and is unable to provide you with the specific reasons why this action was taken. So they can't provide me with specific reason why the action was taken. Huh? Who? The credit reporting agency indicated in this letter did not make the decision to take adverse action. So if they did, who made the decision to take adverse action against this person? It goes on to say you have the right to obtain a free copy of your consumer report by contacting the credit reporting agency within 60 days from the date of this letter. You also have the right to dispute the accuracy or completeness of any information in your credit report. Okay, thank you for letting me know. Equal Credit Opportunity Act notice. The Federal Equal Credit Opportunity Act prohibits, what does it do? It prohibits creditors from discriminating. Well, that would make sense if it's equal credit. Discriminating is prohibited. Let's say that one more time. If credit is equal, to discriminate in regards to credit would be prohibited. Let's read it again now. The Federal Equal Credit Opportunity Act prohibits creditors from discriminating against credit applicants on the basis of race, color, religion, national origin, sex, marital status, age, provided that the applicant has capacity to enter into a contract. So you have to be mentally compatible to enter into a contract. Because all or part of the applicant's income derives from any public assistance program, so they can't discriminate because you're on any types of public assistance, or because the applicant has in what? Good faith exercised any right. What? Did they say privilege? No, they say any right under the Consumer Credit Protection Act. The federal agency that administers compliance with this law concerning Bank of America at this address is the Bureau of Consumer Financial Protection at this address. Credit score disclosure. This person's credit score, or a FICO score, used by us in taking the above action is 573. What action did they take? An adverse action. Based on what? A score. A FICO score. Did it say the action was based on law? No, the action was not based on law, because law says it prohibits discrimination against any credit applicant. So what did they just say? Your credit score, a FICO score used by us in taking the above action is 573. What was that above action? Adverse action. All right. Which was created on August 1st, 2023 and provided by a credit reporting agency, TransUnion, at this address. Their phone number is here and their web address is here. The range of possible scores is 300 to 850. Your credit score is a number that reflects the information in your credit report. Your credit score can change depending on how the information in your credit report changes. All right, so the score is not forever and it can change based on the information that's being reported in the score. Okay, so once again, the key factors that adversely affected your credit score are serious delinquency and public record of collection filed, proportions of balances to credit limits on bank/national revolving or other revolving accounts is too high, number of accounts with delinquencies. So they are stating the adverse actions that affected their approval based on score, not law or any acts, but strictly based on this FICO score, were for actions of, looks like somebody who was doing what? In good faith, maybe exercised any right under the Consumer Credit Protection Act. Doesn't that look like what somebody was doing? They was exercising a right. That right that they were exercising is now causing them to be discriminated against on a credit application. Please note that these factors relate only to your credit score. The reasons for our credit decision are given separately at the beginning of this letter. If you have questions regarding your credit score or the factors affecting your credit score, please contact TransUnion. Their phone number. See, so they're trying to say that TransUnion is the reason why they're doing what they're doing, but TransUnion ain't the reason why they're doing what they're doing. Well, let's take a look at something. Now, you know how I do. Let's go look and see what the law says. All right, now we're in U.S. Code, Title 15, and we need to go down to 41. Chapter 41. Why? Because 41 covers consumer credit protection. Consumer credit protection. Who are they protecting? Consumer credit. All right, let's click on that. Now, we coming in this chapter 41, consumer credit protection. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sub-chapters. All right. All these chapters are pertaining to what? Consumer credit protection. So what is the intent of this chapter? To protect the credit of the consumer. Obviously, right? Now we have consumer credit cost disclosure, restrictions on garnishment, credit repair organizations, credit reporting agencies, equal credit opportunity, debt collection practices, electronic fund transfers. Now we're going to talk about equal credit opportunity. We click on there. The first title that comes up is scope of prohibition. Let's go click on it and see what it says. Activities constituting discrimination. It shall be unlawful. What did they say? Unlawful. What's another word for unlawful? Maybe illegal, perhaps? For any creditor to discriminate against any applicant. Any applicant. Click on applicant. Term applicant means any person who applies, let's move this out the way, to a creditor directly for an extension, renewal, or continuation of credit, or applies to a creditor indirectly by use of an existing credit plan or an amount exceeding a previous established credit limit. All right, let's get back out of there. With respect to any aspect of a credit transaction. So it is illegal for a creditor to discriminate against any applicant with respect to an aspect of a credit transaction. An aspect to a credit transaction on the basis of race, color, right, religion, national origin, sex, marital status, or age, provided the applicant has capacity to contract. That's what we read on their document. Let's keep reading. Because all of part of the applicant's income derives from any public assistance program. We read that too. Or because the applicant has what? In good faith exercised any right under this chapter. What is this chapter about? Consumer credit protection. So if we're using credit, which is our right, right? Because that's a respect to any aspect of a credit transaction. When we use our credit, which creates a credit score, and then they turn around and discriminate against us, that's unlawful. Activities not constituting as discrimination. It shall not constitute discrimination for the purpose of the subchapter for a creditor to what? Make an inquiry of marital status, such as inquiry for the purpose of asserting the creditor's right and remedy. Okay, that ain't got nothing to do with what we're talking about, right? To a particular extension of credit, not to discriminate and discriminating credit worthiness, right? 2, make an inquiry on the applicant's age. Okay, we're not talking about age, but these things are saying what doesn't constitute discrimination. To use any empirical derived credit system which considers age. See, they're talking about age again. To make an inquiry or to consider the age. See, they're talking about age again. To make any inquiry under this subsection 1619C-2 of this title in accordance with the requirement of the section. Additional activities not constituting discrimination. It is not a violation of this section for a creditor to refuse to extend credit offered pursuant to what? Any credit assistance program. any credit assistance program. 3, any special purpose credit program. Okay, so what we're doing does not follow under these categories. D, reason for adverse action. Procedure applicable. Adverse action defined within 30 days or such longer reasonable time as specified in regulations of the Bureau for any class of credit transaction. After receipt of a completed application for credit, a creditor shall notify the applicant of his action on the application. So they notified the person on why they were adversely affecting or giving an adverse action on why they were denying them for credit. Sound like they denied them for credit based on them using their credit. Right? Isn't that what we just read? They were using their credit. It was their right and they was using it in good faith. Each applicant against whom adverse action is taken shall be entitled to a statement of reason for such action from the creditor. A creditor satisfied this obligation by providing a statement of reason in writing as a matter of course to the applicant against whom adverse action is taken, or given written notification of adverse action which discloses 1I, the applicant's right to statement of reasons within 30 days after receipt by the creditor of a request made within 60 days after such notification, and 2, the identity of the person or office from which statement may be obtained. Right? They told us where we can go get our information from. Right? They said go holler at TransUnion, but just because we got this from TransUnion, it didn't really affect the reason why we denied. You see what they were saying? They double talking. Such statement may be given orally if written. Notifications advise the applicant of his right to have the statement of reasons confirmed in writing or written request. Now we go down here. Statement of reasons meets the requirements of this section only if it contains the specific reason for the adverse action taken. Okay, when the credit has been requested by a third party, a specific extension of credit directed or indirectly to the applicant, the notification of the statement of reasons required by this subsection may be directly by such credit. All right, so you see all these issues right here does not pertain to what we're talking about, right? The purpose of subsection adverse action means denial, revocation of credit, a change in the terms and conditions, existing credit arrangement, or a refusal to grant credit in substantially the amount or on substantially the terms requested. Such terms does not include a refusal to extend additional credit under the extension credit arrangement where the applicant is delinquent or otherwise in default, or such additional credit would exceed the previously established credit limit. All right, copies furnished to applicants. So they got to tell you all this information. So they're just trying to make sure that they are abiding by the rules. Now, let's take a look at something else. Now, we are back to the subchapter, Equal Credit Opportunity. We just read the scope of prohibition. All right. Now, as we look down this list, we go down here to 1691E, civil liability. What is the penalty for them violating the prohibition? Let's click and see. Civil liability, an individual or class action for actual damages. Any creditor who fails to comply with any requirement imposed under this subchapter shall be liable to the aggrieved applicant for any actual damages sustained by such applicant acting either in an individual capacity or as a member of a class. B. Recovery of punitive damages in individual and class action for actual damages. Exemptions. Maximum amount of punitive damages in individual actions, limitations on total recovery and class action factors determining the amount of award. Any creditor other than a government or governmental subdivision or agency who fails to comply with any requirement imposed under this subchapter shall be liable to the aggrieved applicant for punitive damages in an amount not greater than $10,000. In addition to any actual damages provided in subsection A, except that in the case of a class action, the total recovery under the subsection should not exceed the lesser of $500,000 or 1% of net worth of the creditor. In determining the amount of such damages in any action, the court shall consider, among other relevant factors, the amount of any actual damages awarded, the frequency and persistence of failures of compliance by the creditor. The frequency and persistence of failures of compliance by creditors, the resources of the creditor, the number of persons adversely affected, and the extent to which the creditor's failure of compliance was intentional. You have an action for equitable and declaratory relief upon application by an aggrieved applicant. The appropriate United States District Court or any other court of competent jurisdiction may grant such equitable, right? Equal credit opportunity, y'all. We're talking about equity. So they may grant such equitable and declaratory relief as is necessary to enforce the requirements imposed under this subchapter. Recovery of costs and attorney fees. All right, we have good faith compliance with rule, regulation, or interpretation of bureau, or interpretation or approval by an official or employee of Bureau of Consumer Financial Protection, duly authorized by Bureau. Jurisdiction of the courts, time for the maintenance of action acceptance. So y'all see what this says. They're telling you what you're entitled to for their violations of breaking the law. Right? Now, let's look a little bit more. All right, now we're back to consumer credit protection. We just left out of equal credit opportunity, right? 1691. Now, this came out around 1974. So before this, around 1970, credit reporting agencies, which is the Fair Credit Reporting Act, came about. Let's click on there. Now we have congressional findings and statement of purpose of why they put this together, right? Definition, rules of construction, permissible purposes of consumer credit reports. Let's look at rules of construction, right? Right. Well, what is to be in these credit reports that they're using to discriminate against us? All right. Now we have simple definitions where we break down persons, consumer. Now I've read over this before, so we're not going to get it. We're going straight to the credit report part. In general, the term consumer report means any written, oral, or other communication of any information by a consumer reporting agency bearing on a consumer's credit worthiness, credit standing, credit capacity, character, general reputation, personal characteristics, or mode of living, which is used or expected to be used or collected in whole or in part for the purposes of serving as a factor in establishing the consumer's eligibility for what? Credit or insurance, to be used primarily for personal, family, or household purposes, employment purposes, or any other purpose authorized under Section 1681B of this title. It goes right next. We have exclusions, y'all. What does exclusions mean? Well, let's see. Except as provided by paragraph 3, the term consumer report does not include what? Subject to subsection 1681S-3 of this title, any report containing information solely as to what? Transactions or experiences between consumer and the person making the report. So those reports that they're making on our credit report are not even supposed to be there. Communication of that information among persons related by common ownership or affiliated by corporate control, or communication of other information among persons related by common ownership or affiliated by corporate control. If it is clearly and conspicuously disclosed to the consumer that the information may be communicated among such persons, and the consumer is given the opportunity before that time that the information is initially communicated, to direct such information not be communicated among such persons. So, are they letting you know that they're going to disclose this information before they disclose it, so you have the opportunity to tell them not to? So now it looks like not only do we have the bank violating the consumer, we have the credit reporting agencies violating the consumer for reporting information without consent. Not only without consent, but information that should not even be a part of what a consumer's credit report. Now, knowing is only half the battle, right? So what do we do after we know? Well, a gentleman always gives notice. So we must start now drafting our notice to put them on notice of their violation. If you would like to see how I draft my notices, or this notice I'm going to draft to assist with someone else's situation, please tap in, hit the link, and you can get that opportunity. Thank you for joining. You have been given the information and the laws. What you do with it at this point is up to you. Peace and prosperity.